Good morning. This is my hopefully weekly vlog of me reading Tokyo Babylon for the first time. This is a series by Clamp that I've always been interested in. It's one of their like iconic works. There are seven volumes and I have all of them, so I got them secondhand, so yay. This is me reading them, and I am reading the original Tokyo Pop version in English. So it is currently, what day is it? Wednesday. And I spent all night just sleeping, so my schedule is all messed up, but that's okay. So I just finished the first volume of Tokyo Babylon, and very interesting. It's definitely going to take me a little bit more to kind of like really get the gist of where it's going. Super interesting reading it. There are a lot of like good things in here that I've tabbed. There was some commentary on ethical consumption. Oh yeah, there's some like pretty feminist stuff in here too, which is cool. So yeah, so Tokyo Babylon is about this character Subaru right here. He like basically, I think he like banishes demons or like ghosts or something like that, restless spirits, and he is like the leader of this clan that does it. And so him and his twin sister, I guess Hokuto, are, I don't know, hanging out. It doesn't seem like Hokuto has any like powers. It looks like it's just Subaru. And then they always hang out with Seishiro, who is a veterinarian but also the leader of this like rival clan, and there's something about like them like controlling Japan through the shadows, or something like that. So they're kind of like rival clans, yet they hang out together. There's some sort of like relationship between Subaru and Seishiro. Subaru is 16. And Seishiro is like a whole grown-ass man. It seems like it's like a one-sided thing right now, where Seishiro is like in love with Subaru. And maybe it will develop further. I don't know. This little relationship here that's making me a little bit uncomfy. Like a whole ass man and a 16-year-old, but I guess there are problematic fave. But yeah, so super interesting so far. I'm gonna read some more of this. Today is my last day off for the week, but hopefully I'll be able to read this throughout the week, so you'll see a vlog, and then I'll have like my thoughts and wrap up at the end. So they have sound effects here, but they kept them in Japanese, and then in the back they just have like a glossary of the sound effects, which really detaches you from like the manga, like, or like the what is happening. If like you want to know what that sound effects was, you have to flip to the back, find out what page and panel it was, to know like what that sound effect was. And aside from like not really knowing much about like manga lettering and like translation and stuff like that, that's just annoying as a reader. Like, if you want to keep the Japanese sound effect in for some reason, then like I've seen some places in manga where they have the Japanese sound effect, but then there's like the English sound like next to it. But just having like a glossary of sound effects in the back is the most annoying thing ever. It's not like they're super like, it's not like I care too much about like reading sound effects and stuff like that, but it's just like annoying, really. So I don't think that happens anymore. Like this is like pretty old. I don't know when they published this. So I mean, this was written in 1991, but I don't know when the English, 2004 is the English copyright on this volume. So I don't know, this is definitely a topic that I need to do more research on, is like a manga translation and lettering and stuff like that. But like the sound effects thing is 100% annoying, and I think they just did that to like preserve the Japanese-ness of it, which doesn't sit right for me, and it's also annoying as a reader. But wow, only a few pages in and I love this character already. This is so good. So it's been a while. So quite some time has passed since I started my this Tokyo Babylon vlog. Not a ton of time, just a few days. But I was not sleeping very well, so I didn't have time to read anything and much less have the energy to vlog anything. So, today is, what day is it? I don't even know. Saturday? Yeah, so it's Saturday, and I just got home from work, so I'm about to go to bed, but I thought I would start my vlog again. So I have made it through volume 3 of Tokyo Babylon, and volume 3 was like really interesting, super dark, and I feel like maybe it's like a shifting in the tone of it, and of the series, and also maybe a little bit of like some clues about X. So I don't know how far ahead Clamp plans their stuff, but I do know that X is like not a sequel to Tokyo Babylon, but characters from Tokyo Babylon and the story of Tokyo Babylon is important in X. So, I mean, X is about like the end of the world, and there are people talking about the end of the world happening in 1999, and that's when X takes place, and that's what happens in X. So, I don't know, just really interesting, and knowing that little tidbit was interesting, but still kind of trying to figure out like where this whole thing is going. Hopefully after that kind of like big incident, it will pick up from there like plot wise, but I do know from reading a few other Clamp stuff, they like to info dump at the end, so I don't know. Hopefully I will get to reading that, getting onto number 4 very soon. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to sleep, and then later, like this evening, some of my Taekwondo classmates are testing for their black belts, so it's like a huge thing. So I am going to go and watch their test. Hopefully I have to get up at an appropriate time, hoping for 3:30, but yeah, I really want to go see them test and support them, so yes. And especially since like these classmates have been like, they had already started when I started taking classes again, so they've been working for a long time to reach their black belt, and it's like a huge like milestone, so yeah, hopefully I will be able to go and see them, but I'm gonna go to sleep now, and if I make it to the test, you'll see some footage of the test, and then I will get reading on Tokyo Babylon. Vlogging, so it's several days from the last time I vlogged, but I had nothing to do at work tonight, so I finished volume 4 of Tokyo Babylon, and I think finally we are getting somewhere. It's been very episodic up until this point, and it is still really episodic, but there's a little bit more coming. Finding some things about Seishiro, and I think there is a looming threat coming, so, or we're getting close to the main problem, I think. Knowing Clamp, they're just gonna info dump everything at the end. I mean, I feel like that's the way they work. I'm really liking this. There are things that make me uncomfy. Seishiro makes me uncomfy. The rest of it's pretty good. I like all the clothes, very like early 90s. And it's getting darker and darker. I feel like the last volume was pretty dark at the end, like the last like episode of it, but this one is just like real dark. I do want to put in trigger warnings for animal violence in this one. It's not shown, it's talked about, and there's like a cryptic image, but it's talked about and you see blood. So yeah, just want to put that out there. So hopefully I can finish the other 3 that I have left soon. That is all ice out there. Fun. I finished, finally. These are gonna be my initial thoughts, and then we'll do a bigger kind of connected review coming immediately after this. So what an ending. I honestly, I don't know what to say right now. It's very sad and very tragic. Lives up to its tragic reputation. So I have to think about everything in here and what I liked and what I didn't like and my final thoughts. But very good. Probably one of my favorite clamps so far, so that is good. But yeah, really enjoyed this, and I'm very happy to have finally finished it. So complete thoughts coming to you right now. Okay, let's talk Tokyo Babylon. To be honest, it's been a while since I've read this. When I read it and filmed the vlog, it was snowing and winter, and now it is spring and warm, so it's been a while. So overall, I think Tokyo Babylon is one of Clamp's strongest titles. If you've seen my Clamp collection video, you know I haven't read a ton of Clamp titles, but this one does feel very strong, and it feels like they were doing a lot with it. It's also one of their most like well-beloved ones, so that has it going for it. Personally, I really liked it. I do have a few issues with it. Overall, I really liked this series. One of my favorite Clamp titles. It has really interesting magic system that has like cultural significance. It's got this really great air of mystery and like makes you want to know what is going on, and it has utterly heart-wrenching emotional stories within it, so I really loved it for that. It has a really nice dark tone to it. It's not super cute and fluffy. It kind of shows off like their darker side, so really like it for that. I was reading these older Tokyo Pop versions. So this is the first printing of Tokyo Babylon in English. They were published, this was originally published in Japan in 1991 and then published in English through Tokyo Pop in 2004. So it was a very long time before this got published in English, though of course 2004, around that time, was a big boom of manga being published in English. So, Tokyo Babylon was republished by Dark Horse later, maybe in omnibus form, but I think those are the only 2 ways in which this series exists in English. I have issues with these versions, and they're kind of like nitpicky versions that I just don't agree with their creative choices in how they decided to publish things or put things in the manga. The first thing that I don't really agree with is changing of or keeping the original Japanese name order. I feel like they say in their little disclaimer, so their reasoning for keeping the Japanese name order, as in family name first and then their given name, is to immerse the reader in the Japanese setting. It also includes honorifics too, in order to keep that Japanese-ness of it, and I don't agree with that entirely. I know honorifics are kind of a, I don't know, a controversial topic if you want to keep them in or not, but the Japanese name order, I feel like that really doesn't add much to the story or like the Japanese setting, as they're saying. It's confusing to a reader, and if you are not a person who reads manga, or if you're a new manga reader, then that Japanese name order is confusing, and I don't agree with it, the way they did that. Also, I have notes. So the sound effects glossary in the back, horrible decision. Like, if you're not going to retouch the panels, just put a little translation down on the bottom. It's just, I'm glad that doesn't exist anymore. Random words left in Japanese. Now, I am not a Japanese translator. I don't have enough Japanese like translation experience or Japanese language experience to really 100% educatedly talk about this, because I'm not a translator, so I don't make those decisions. But as a reader, there's some annoying things. The one thing that I touched on this in the vlog, I think, is they just left the word grandma untranslated. So when Subaru is talking to his grandmother, he calls her Oba-chan in like the text, like it says Oba-chan, but there's no reason for that. Like, you can just say like grandma. I understand for words that are like specifically Japanese, or maybe like some food type things, like if you wanted to say, if some character was eating like natto, which is fermented soybeans, maybe you would just leave it as natto and not write fermented soybeans, because it's like it's the name of the food. But like for something like grandma, like why? Like, did you just leave that in there? Did you just put it as Oba-chan to be quirky? Like, I don't understand that choice at all, and it's really frustrating when that happens, because we have a word, like a one-to-one word that implies like a familiarity, a nickname. Like, if you're gonna say like Oba-chan, which is like a more casual way to say grandmother, then like we have grandma. Like, I don't understand, but I went on a really long rant, I think, on my Instagram stories about this. Again, I'm not a translator, I'm not a manga editor, so I don't know why those decisions were made, but it is something that I'm really interested in and that I want to research further, and maybe someday I can sit down with a translator and talk about this stuff. So let's talk about things I liked and things I didn't like in Tokyo Babylon. I'm scared I'm gonna just say Tokyo Pop all of the time. Maybe I will have more to say about the things I didn't like than the things I did like, but that's not that I didn't like Tokyo Babylon. I really do like it. It's just I'm passionate about the things that I didn't like. So the first thing is Seishiro and Subaru's relationship. Now, I understand the plot reason for their relationship. I just don't like the way it was done. It felt really forced, which when you reach the end of the series makes sense, because Seishiro is trying to see if he has emotions, and it turns out he doesn't. So that's why it felt forced, because Seishiro was literally forcing himself to try and love Subaru. So that gets a pass. But the thing I don't like is the age gap. It makes no sense. There's no reason for it. One of the things that I really like about Clamp is that they don't shy away from having many different types of relationships. One of their themes that seems to show up in a lot of their manga, at least that I have read, is that love can transcend anything. It's really apparent in Cardcaptor Sakura and in some uncomfy ways. So Clamp does tend to take this a little too far, and they have a lot of very wide age gap romances. That is one of the big failings of the Cardcaptor Sakura manga, is the downright horrible side character relationships. Like, absolutely not. But in Tokyo Babylon, there is this age gap. Subaru is 16, Seishiro is like a whole ass adult. He's like 20 something, and they're supposed to be like in a relationship, or there's talks about it, and at the end Subaru realizes they're in love with Seishiro, and then tragedy ensues. But there's absolutely no reason why Subaru has to be 16. He's never in school. You never once see him at school, I don't think. Why can't they just be the same age? Even if Subaru was in college, like if he was 20, that would make a lot more sense. It would help out with the story. He would have a lot more time, and it would make sense that a 20-year-old who's maybe in college trying to study to try to achieve their dream while they have this other job is more practical, and it's less uncomfy. Personally, I found no reason for them to have such a large age gap. The only thing that I can think of them having Subaru as 16 is because of the audience they were trying to direct the manga to, but I feel like for a 16-year-old to enjoy like a teenager to enjoy a story, the main character doesn't have to be the same age as them. Especially since this has darker themes, so it seems like it would be directed towards older teens because it's quite violent and gory at times, where older teens would be more okay with a 20-year-old character. Another thing with the relationship problems in here is just the amount of jokes at the expense of like being gay. I think Tokyo Babylon was the first manga published in English with a same-sex relationship, but that came at the cost of having a lot of jokes in this manga about like equating being gay to being like perverted, like, oh, if you like men, that's perverted. This isn't a Clamp specific thing. I think it's just like a sign of the times or a cultural thing. Of course, this was published in 1991, and Japan has not made much progress on LGBTQ rights. You can't even get, like, even now in 2021, 20 years later, wait, is it 20 years? Oh my god, it's 30 years. Okay, you still cannot get married legally if you are in a same-sex marriage or a same-sex relationship in Japan. Japan has a long way to go with that, so that might be where some of the kind of like stigma and jokes about being gay are in here. I've also seen it in Hanakimi, which makes me think that maybe it's like a cultural thing from the times, so I just didn't like that about it, but that's also something I don't like about early manga in general. Hi, Editing Kirsty again. So I wanted to jump into my own video and just say a few more things on this topic. One, I do want to say that I am not part of the LGBTQ plus community. I am a straight white woman. So maybe I am not the one to talk about this situation, and I know a lot of people in the LGBTQ plus community really love this manga for its like same-sex relationship representation, but as a reader I do want to look at things critically. These are just things that stuck out to me, and it's something that has stuck out to me for a long time in manga and anime, this kind of reaction to same-sex marriage or same-sex relationship. There is a lot of anti-LGBTQ plus jokes in a lot of beloved manga and anime. One that comes to mind is Ouran High School Host Club, which is like very has a lot of transphobic jokes in it. So while I may not be the most qualified to speak about this, I did want to mention it because I wanted to, I don't know, I wanted to discuss this, and it's definitely a problem that I see within manga and anime, but I did want to make it clear that I'm not trying to like speak over anybody, and I think it's fine to like the series. It's fine to like Ouran, it's fine to like Hanakimi, it's fine to like Tokyo Babylon and to have them be like special to you in some sort of way, and to identify them with them, but I also think that we should be very critical of them. They can be a problematic fave. As long as we recognize the problems within them, I think it's still fine to like. Like, my favorite series, Cardcaptor Sakura, is not without its faults. There's a lot of very uncomfy relationships. So personally, I feel like it's fine to like series that kind of have these sorts of things in them, as long as we are recognizing that they are a problem. So yeah, I just wanted to jump in and say that on with the rest of the review. Then number 2 is not a huge thing that I didn't like, but I think it's more of a problem with like a systemic problem in Clamp's writing, is that they tend to info dump. So you spend the whole series with question after question after question after question with very little answer, and if you do get an answer, then it just adds 50 more questions, and then at the end of the series they just dump all the info and all of the answers on you. This manga felt a little bit like that. I feel like this story is told in kind of like episodes or like contained stories. It's like Subaru helping out different sorts of spirits and solving problems that way, and none of them really add much to the plot. Every once in a while you'll get like this memory, and it's always the same memory, and Subaru has the same questions about it throughout the whole manga, and then finally at the end you get the information. So that's something that kind of bothered me. And that's about the only things that I'm like really not a huge fan of in this manga. The things that I did like, love the atmosphere of this manga. It is so like foreboding, like reading it you feel like there is something sinister in the background, which there is. It's Seishiro. Feel like something terrible is gonna happen and that this is not gonna have a good ending, and it doesn't have a good ending. It's very sad at the end. Kind of like this kind of like dark sort of undertone to the whole series. And while I wasn't a huge fan of the episodic nature of this manga, some of them were really, really good. The story about the phone cult was like terrifying. And I felt like it was a real turning point in the manga. I think before that, everything seemed kind of innocent, and then you got this really, really dark sort of story that's like deep rooted in like magic and desires and selfishness and stuff like that, and it was just like, okay, that's what we're going for in this. The other story in it that I really liked was one about the grandfather who was trying not to be a burden to his family, and the way that ended up. That story had me like sobbing. I was so sad. Like, I was literally tears coming down my face after I read that. So even though I don't like as many, like the episodic nature of it, for how long it is, there did have the chance to tell some really, really great moving stories. Then the fashion, okay? Like this, like Clamp is known for their costumes. Like everything in Cardcaptor Sakura, gorgeous. This, so cool. Like, I mean, look at Subaru here. Amazing. Love it. Beautiful. Hokuto, an icon. Like, she was doing things that people wish they could think of. It was really sad because the anime was stopped because the animation studio was plagiarizing things. Specifically iconic fashion. So fun. And then the ending, I liked it, but you know, I didn't like it, you know? Because it's so tragic, but I felt like it was just a really shocking ending to everything, and the whole time you're like, no, wait, what are you doing? Please stop. Don't do that. The ending of it did feel kind of open-ended, where for me, I really liked that because I do know that this comes before X and that these characters are involved in X, but I don't know if that was made apparent when it was published. I feel like if you didn't have that knowledge before going into this, or before reaching the end of this series, then you would be like, well, what's gonna happen? Because nothing was super solved in here. Just ended in terribleness. Knowing that it goes into X and that this kind of situation and world continues later is very comforting, except when you realize that X is unfinished and then it's not. Those are kind of the things that I really liked about Tokyo Babylon. Really, really like this series. Super dark, super creepy, super emotional. Awesome. Really loved it. I think it's definitely going to be one of my favorites. That's exciting, and I'm finally able to understand a little bit more of what Clamp is talking about. So that is kind of my review of sorts of Tokyo Babylon, or my thoughts on Tokyo Babylon. And now I'm going to give you my Clamp ranking. So this ranking is going to update every time I do one of these. I'm just going to put in a new the new series that I've read in my ranking of series, and so we'll start from the bottom, and these are going to be only the ones that I have either read or read like enough of to really put it in a ranking. So on the bottom, as number 7, I think it is, we have Gate 7. Gate 7, not a fan of this at all. It's confusing and it's unfinished and will probably never be finished, so it's just down on the bottom. And then number 6 is going to be Chobits, which I've only read about half of, but still not my favorite style of story, so saws. And then number 5 is Angelic Layer. Number 4 is Tsubasa. I've read like 6 or 7 of the omnibuses, so I've read a good chunk of it, so I feel like I can rank it. And then number 3 is going to be Tokyo Babylon. I feel like this goes good in a top 3 position for right now. And then number 2 is going to be Magic Knight Rayearth, and number 1, Cardcaptor Sakura. So right now, this stands, like, it's pretty high up on my list. Like, Cardcaptor Sakura and Magic Knight Rayearth are nostalgic favorites for me, so I don't imagine them really changing that much, but yeah, high ranking. So yeah, this has been my vlog and discussion on Tokyo Babylon. If you've read Tokyo Babylon, please let me know in the comments what you thought of it. I'd be interested to know. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more manga, clamp, goodness from me. That is all I've got for you guys today. I'm Christy Lou. Till next time, mata ne!